Every year, church leaders of various denominations, scholars, government officials, educators, businessmen and journalists meet during the autumn in Lviv for the Ecumenical Social Week to discuss key issues faced by our country. In 2015, at the initiative of the Institute of Ecumenical Studies, from September 30th to October 3rd, the 8th Ecumenical Social Week was held. It brought the participants together around the theme Education for Changes, Spirituality and Innovations. This theme was not chosen accidentally. Ukraine today is in a difficult situation caused by military operations and unrest. More than ever, it needs quality training of young professionals and experts in various fields, as this affects the development of the country and the success of future generations. The main goal of quality education is to form a new generation of Ukrainians, socially active and competitive in European and global labour markets.
I think the social week is really important. It's so important. For me, it's a sign of hope, because all the different churches come together. We discuss issues that concern all of us. We discuss them together. We share our insights, our wisdom, our experience.
Traditionally, the opening of the Ecumenical Week begins with joint prayer. The representatives of various faiths bless the participants and discussants for fruitful work. In their welcoming speeches, the clergy stressed the inalienable connection between education and religion. The first academic event of the 8th Ecumenical Social Week was an academic conference, Education for Changes, Spirituality and Innovations. It was held in the Assembly Hall of Lviv Polytechnic National University. The discussion was attended by Yehor Stadny, Director of the CEDOS Analytical Center, Taras Finikov, President of the International Foundation for Education Policy Research, and Irina Klyochkovska, Director of the International Institute of Education, Culture and Relations with the Diaspora at Lviv Polytechnic National University. Participants agreed that universities should get out and become more transparent and communicative, because it is a public inquiry and there is a demand for quality education. The quality of higher education is its ability to meet the internal needs of the person, the expectations of the professional environment to which this person will come, engineer, doctor, teacher, and finally the social needs of the entire society as a whole. It wants this person to be honest, innovative, and socially active. An education which is able to provide all these aspects is a high-quality education. To initiate reforms in education and bring them up to European standards, first of all, it is necessary to determine where in a crisis situation, in which Ukraine is now, there are resources that can be used as instruments for change. But above all, it is necessary to understand what factors of the external and internal environment are influencing delays in reforming education. According to Yehor Stadny, the openness and accessibility of universities is one of the main instruments for change, because this will motivate students and allow employers to collaborate with universities. This will enable us to get a more motivated student to have better contact with an employer who is interested in supporting specific programs, for example, educational programs. He learns about these programs and will offer some support and cooperation, and international partners will do the same. When introducing something new into educational programs, an important factor is the moral guideline that should steer the whole educational process. This was a major point in Halina Ulsatenko's speech. The educational experience of foreign countries where Ukrainians are found is also a key factor in reforming the educational system. Ukrainians must unite and support one another, creating a strong nation. Ukrainian education in foreign countries has progressed far, which is why communication with the diaspora and exchange of information are so important. We need the potential of the diaspora, first of all, to deal with the information war which continues throughout the world, to be able somehow to resist it. We have to have those Ukrainians remain Ukrainians. How? By means of the Ukrainian school. An innovative force in any reforms are the citizens themselves, and, in the educational sphere, the students as well. The students were able to act as speakers, to join the discussions and give their comments and suggestions, because who, if not the students, feel the drawbacks of current education experiences more? Among the main disadvantages they see is a lack of spirituality, corruption, lack of cooperation between students and teachers, secrecy of information, and unwillingness to listen to students' opinions. Because of the speeches, I've become interested in the fact that our education has long been in need of spirituality and a certain depth, in order to develop, to go forward, to develop culture and change the attitude regarding the quality of education. The academic conference ended with a lively discussion among the participants and speakers, during which the experts offered various schemes and ways of developing Ukrainian education in a time of war, economic crisis, and total distrust in government institutions. The first day of the 8th Ecumenical Social Week ended with discussion at the round table, Educating a New Generation, Christian Values and European Standards, in which famous Ukrainian scholars and experts in religious, social and cultural issues participated. These scholars included Reverend Dr. Ivan Datsko, President of the Institute of Ecumenical Studies at the Ukrainian Catholic University, Miroslav Marinovich, Vice Rector for University Mission of the Ukrainian Catholic University, Alexander Dobruye, Director of the European Institute of Social Communication, Father Sergei Dmitriev, Assistant Director of the Synodal Department of Social Service and Charity of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Kiev Patriarchate, and others. The participants discussed such major issues as ecumenism, the concept of education that we need today, innovation, the role of youth in reforms, and the role of Christian values. The modern youth are those young people who survive the Maidan and have an understanding of internal freedom. Therefore, they should receive cooperation to develop and discover their potential. This is a responsibility that we have. This is the opinion that Miroslav Marinovich expressed. We now have wonderful material. The potential of our youth is wonderful. Whether it will be used depends on Ukrainian society and on the young people in general. Great responsibility for the development of modern education lies with teachers, because they must reveal this potential in young people and guide it in the right direction. The teacher has to become a tutor, a person who helps young people think, who allows a critical look at something, allows them to discuss and develop a variety of skills, so-called soft skills, which means critical thinking, presentation, communication. In my opinion, this is what our education should look like. Father Dr. Ivan Datsko recalled the main European values and called us to reject what divides us, but accept what unites us. A key role was given to ecumenism, which calls for tolerance, patience, and prudence. In his speech, Father Datsko spoke about the development of ecumenism since 1950 and how Europe managed to lift itself up after exhausting wars to accept ecumenism, which is not a church policy, but the search for truth in humility. Father Sergei Dmitriev, Assistant Director of the Synodal Department for Social Service and Charity of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Kiev Patriarchate, closed the roundtable. Father Dmitriev spoke about his own experience of social service and also about the current status of education in the religious sphere. The priest emphasized that the church can become a platform for the exchange of experience and knowledge, which will generate new ideas and projects for future implementation. The second day of the 8th Ecumenical Social Week, which took place within the walls of the Ukrainian Catholic University, was devoted to the theme The Spiritual Formation of Christian and Theological Education in Ukraine. The roundtable brought together Ukrainian and international experts in the field of spiritual education, who discussed the present state of religious studies, solutions to problems, and prospects for development. The spiritual formation of the nation is the instrument of God's mission, which aims at the welfare of the human being. The modern Ukrainian realizes that spiritual potential is significant for strengthening the nation, because theological education is not only a platform for reflection, but also a component in reform and the changes that are occurring now. Therefore, we must make efforts to improve and perfect it. The spiritual formation of Christians and society is impossible without high-quality theological education. Theological education provides us as Christians with contours and tools for our spiritual development, without which there can be no transformation of our civil society. Joshua T. Searle, tutor in theology and public thought at Spurgeon's College in London, said, during his speech, that after the Maidan in Ukraine, a new generation, the so-called Homo Maidanos, had arisen. They are ready for a reform which is filled with spiritual values and which aims to bring Ukraine to the European level, breaking the old Soviet anti-religious worldviews.
I think that Maidan signals the birth of something very special, something very deep has happened. There's been a transformation, not just in the political structures, but there's been a deeper anthropological transformation, I would say, from Homo Sovieticus to Homo Maidanos, and I've tried to address that in my presentation today. But Homo Maidanos, I think, by contrast, is imbued with a spirit of freedom and accountability and democracy. The formation of a new person who is open to changes must start with childhood and school. Sister Christofora Bushtin, head of the Commission for Education and Training of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, brought up issues of Catholic schooling in her speech. She considered Catholic schooling as an important link in the democratization of the Ukrainian educational sphere. We know that, previously in post-Soviet practice, the state still retained the right to determine the content and form of educational institutions. But democratic societies always include the opinion of parents, because parents are the customers and their worldview is very important. They have a right that their child in preschool and school hear the same thing that he or she hears at home. That is the right to religious education. Sister Bushtin noted that there are already such practices in Ukrainian society in private and religious initiatives. They have been actively developing and becoming popular among Ukrainians, and it will be a wonderful experience to aid the formation of a new person, decent, free, and open to changes. The challenges of theological education in Ukraine, in the light of the new law on higher education. Well, with this theme, Vitaly Kromets, director of the Institute of Theological Studies at the National University of Kiev-Mohyla Academy, expressed his thoughts. The new law is a chance for theological education to go beyond seminaries and enter universities, as it was from the very beginning of the establishment of the first universities.
Останні законодавчі ініціативи, вони пов'язані з богословською освітою.
At the level of legislative initiatives, this is linked with theological education. This is a chance for the Church to come to universities, to testify to universities, and to bring those values, that news, the good news that it has, to the university environment. Theology, in the medieval university, crowned education, and it was the very sign that education was universal.
Того, що освіта була універсальна.
After the presentations, an exchange of views among participants and speakers took place, during which the common opinion was reached that the quality, spiritual formation of a modern Ukrainian is not possible without theological education. This should start at home and has to go from preschool through to university. And now is that key moment, because people are open to transformation and change. The second day of the 8th Ecumenical Social Week ended with an ecumenical prayer, during which representatives of various denominations prayed for peace in Ukraine and for the souls of those who have died in the fight for this peace. A traditional topic for discussion at the Ecumenical Social Week is inclusive education. This year, the theme of the roundtable was Inclusive Education for Children with Special Needs, Realities and New Opportunities. The roundtable participants, including representatives of Ukrainian inclusive institutions, people with special needs and parents, led discussions and talked about the importance of early intervention and a family-centered approach to inclusive education for children with special needs. They also talked about functional, regulatory and technical capabilities of general educational schools and the experience of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church Kiev Patriarchate and the situation of special children in southern and eastern Ukraine. The opening speech was delivered by the president of the Institute of Ecumenical Studies at the Ukrainian Catholic University, Reverend Dr. Ivan Datsko, who said that a human being is an icon of God, despite his or her physical health. To establish the mood on inclusive education, the moderators presented to the audience an excerpt from the film The Moon's Child, which demonstrated the true path of inclusion of a disabled child, his family, teachers, officials and others. One of the main issues was about the physical accessibility of education as an essential factor in inclusive education. Today, we don't have to talk about benefits. They won't be given. We must give people with disabilities a chance to learn so they can acquire knowledge and, in accordance with their physical capabilities, realise their intellectual abilities. Representatives of the Gerelo Education and Rehabilitation Centre, in their introductory speeches, talked about new educational opportunities for children with special needs, as well as the achievements and challenges based on the experience of the rehabilitation centre. As the speakers noted, the topic of inclusive education is very important and is being discussed at many conferences and meetings, as people are ready to help their neighbours who have special needs. The Gerelo Education and Rehabilitation Centre, in the 22 years of its existence, has helped 5,000 persons with special needs, and our external activity includes lobbying on the outside for the interests of children and young people with special needs and creating better opportunities for their better future and quality future. Anna Haidachok said that now Lviv has opened its first specialised class for children with special needs as part of inclusive education. This class was opened in the General Educational Specialised School Nadia for children with mental retardation. This experience is unique and the centre workers want to continue spreading it all over Ukraine. In fact, it is a huge success for the city of Lviv, and we are proud that the city authorities are open, especially the Department of Humanitarian Policy. All these institutions are linked, and we clearly see their work today. The head of the Education Department at the Lviv City Council, Zoriana Dovanik, spoke about the realities and prospects for education of children with special needs in Lviv. She emphasised the active collaboration among various agencies. Today, fruitful cooperation has been established with NGOs and parents. Training is being conducted, existing problems discussed, roundtables held, and the heads of educational institutions have the opportunity to share those thoughts, questions and problems that occur to them. During the discussions, the participants reached a common view that inclusion is a solution not only for the person with special needs, but for the whole of society. The traditional closing event of the Ecumenical Social Week is a resource fair of social organisations in the very heart of Lviv. Participating were representatives of charitable organisations including the charity fund Monar Ukraine, which specializes in combating drug abuse and homelessness, Geralo Children's Rehabilitation Center, the International Education Center, the NGO Larch Ukraine, the Emmaus Center of Spiritual Support for Persons with Special Needs, the public organization and scholarly publishing center Psychologists for Psychologists, the Lviv Public Regional Organization Pro-Life Movement, and the Ukrainian charitable foundation Zaporuka. During the fair, various crafts were presented: candles, beaded jewelry, handmade toys and ceramics produced by people with special needs, and also psychology textbooks and coloring books. Today, we have a wonderful opportunity to present our products, which we make in the art studio, jewelry studio, cooking studio, and afterwards we sell at various fairs, which helps to make us known. Representatives of the Larch organization explained how their friends created the handmade jewelry. All of these products which we present at the fair are made by assistants with friends and volunteers. This is the joint work of assistants and friends. For example, a friend can collect beads and an assistant then puts it together and then makes it look presentable. Then we sell it. For the first time, the fair was attended by the International Education Center. At the organization's stand, one could learn about educational innovations and think about choosing one's profession and the opportunity to study abroad. On October 3rd, the winners of the 4th All Ukrainian Reporters of Hope contest were awarded. This is a contest for journalists who, with their pen and word, bear witness to hope in the Ukrainian information space. A competition is held for the best article, report or program that is information, a bearer of decisions. The Reporters of Hope contest is once again being conducted by the Institute of Ecumenical Studies, and I am very pleased that it gathers and unites people who give hope, journalists, for, as we all know, a word can ignite a war, can kill, or, on the contrary, can give hope. Among 34 competitive materials, the 12 best were selected, taking first, second and third places in the categories Society, Economy, Culture and Religion. In the category Religion, Irina Berezovska won first place with the material Do Not Hide in Your Pain, newspaper Lviv Post, Lviv. In the category Society, Vita Dolik won with the video Special View, Secrets of the Military Rear, TV channel ZIK Lviv. In the category Culture, Sofia Bohutska won with her material Hope of Nadezhdivka, music joined rural school children in an orchestra. TV and radio company Sturch, Channel 11, Dnipropetrovsk. In the category Economy, Yulia Yarmolenko won with the story Americans are switching to green offices, TV channel ICTV, Kyiv. The authors who won first place in each of the categories received a certificate for 3,000 hryvnias and prize statuettes. The authors who took second and third places received prizes and certificates as contest participants. I sent 4 materials and I'm very glad that this was the material chosen. Nadezhdivka's hope is the hope of many people for something better in life. Do you remember Helena Tereshchuk called on all participants and finalists at least once in a while to write material for the soul? I really would like journalists to produce at least 2 to 3 such materials per year. I understand how difficult and exhausting the work is, but I'd like very much to see 2 to 3 materials per year, which they would do, indeed, with great pleasure, materials that would take them at least several days, but filled with such satisfaction and pleasure. During the 8th Ecumenical Social Week, a presentation of a book by Wilhelm de Vries, Rome and the Patriarchates of the East, took place at St. Peter and Paul Garrison Church. In 1962, when the council was in session, Father Wilhelm de Vries published this work that we are presenting today.
яку ми сьогодні представляємо.
The translation of the book was presented by Reverend Dr. Ivan Datsko, President of the Institute of Ecumenical Studies at the Ukrainian Catholic University. Professor Oleg Turi, Vice Rector for Program Development of Ukrainian Catholic University, Reverend Dr. Yuri Savuk, Head of Ukrainian Catholic University Pastoral Department, and Reverend Dr. Bogdan Prach, Rector of Ukrainian Catholic University. Reverend Dr. Ivan Datsko noted that this book reveals the full essence of the unity of the Church. Catholic and Orthodox concepts do not contradict, but complement each other, and to complement does not mean to be the same. This work is not only theological and ecumenical, first of all, it is also a historical, and this is its greatest value. The author considers more the issue of the East and the West, how Christianity spread to the East and West, and how the patriarchates were created. Reverend Dr. Bogdan Prach says that this is not the first and far from the last book that the Institute of Ecumenical Studies is presenting. There are many plans ahead for the publication of various research projects, which will enable an understanding of the present, which is possible only through comprehension of the past. Also, the large Ukraine community at the end of the ESW presented a book by Victoria Dmitruk, Through the Eye of a Needle. The book, Through the Eye of a Needle, is 14 stories about people who have mental disabilities, who live next to us, who love, suffer and feel happy. People who someone loves and feels ashamed of, someone who is friends with them and who avoids them, someone who respects them and who despises them. Thus reads the foreword. The pages of the book are complemented by excellent, sincere photographs of the authors. Katerina, the photographer, says that she prepared for every photo shoot and sought to convey the emotions and feelings of the authors. Each photo was created during a genuine interaction while walking or during the friends' favourite activities. The final event of the 8th Ecumenical Social Week was a charity concert in support of the Geralo Education and Rehabilitation Centre on the stage of Lviv's Maria Zankovetska Theatre with the band Rokash and Friends.
Нам дуже приємно виступати в театрі Заньковецької.
We always wanted to perform on a big stage in Lviv, and it is very symbolic. I don't know how it happened that Gerelo Centre offered us a joint concert.
Центр Джерело запропонував.
This concert is to raise funds for the treatment of children.
Це концерт на збір коштів для лікування дітей.
The guests of the concert were the leader of the band, Mary Victor Vinik, well-known singer Alessia Kirichuk, and violin virtuoso Alexander Bozik. The highlight of the concert was the hour program of the Rock H Band that brought together the winners of the TV show Zachodemi w Jedno.
Я дуже тішуся, що знаходяться такі люди.
I'm very happy that there are people like the band Rokash, Alessia Krichuk and Popadiuk who performed last year.
Попадюк минулого року виступав.
This concert enables us to meet with friends, to be together and to rejoice together.
Об'єднатися, побути разом.
Mrs. Kitsadova stressed that these children have a great gift of love and we must learn from them to be open to this love and share it with others. The main event of the concert was a joint performance of the band with friends from Gerelo, during which they sang the song Guests. Children from the centre also joined the musical accompaniment and together with their parents played on various musical instruments. We have prepared an embroidered shirt and today we will play on bells. We are pleasantly impressed with Gerelo and are glad that we are able to perform at the Zankovetska Theatre. The concert gave the whole audience an indescribable charge of energy and joy and helped to raise funds to provide daily programs for children and youth with special needs at the Gerelo Education and Rehabilitation Centre. To do something good is not only beneficial but also pleasant, as the organisers of this concert found out. The The Ecumenical Social Week is a traditional autumn event, which has become a real platform for changes and decisive actions. It has become a meeting place for experts on various issues and from various spheres of activity, not only in Ukraine, but also foreign countries. In their reflections and reports, they share their experience in dealing with particular issues. The 8th Ecumenical Social Week was dedicated to an important subject, the reform of Ukraine's education system, since the state requires major changes to be able to reach the European level. That is why, during the preparation for the event, the Expert Council of the Social Week worked out the resolution of the 8th Ecumenical Social Week, which, at the end, was complemented with the proposals of speakers and participants. The resolution, with constructive recommendations, was submitted to appropriate structures interested in the subject of education and with influence upon it. The organisers hope that these developments will be considered and implemented. We express our sincere gratitude to the co-organisers, partners, volunteers, media partners, and all organisations and people of goodwill for support with this project.